Hey everybody, so this is Sharita and I'm doing a follow-up video on the Nick Cannon situation and what he came under with European Jews. First of all, I am a Sumerian Hebrew Israelite by nationality. Yes, I was born in the United States of America. I am an Eidos, an American descendant of the slaves, but I have come to know through much research internally and externally that I am in the bloodline of the original Sumerians. And when Abraham fled Sumer because it was sacked by the Akkadians, or Chaldeans, then a new nationality was formed. And later on, these people were known as, in the Greek or English vernacular, Hebrew Yisraelite or Hebrew Yisraelim. Really, it should be Ivri Yisraelim. Nick, where do we go from here? Where do we go with this, Nick Cannon? So, I like what Master P said. I like what Waka Flocka had to say. A man doesn't back down from what he knows is his truth. And as much money as Nick has made, enough has to be enough. When does your oppressor's money, when you say you can be bought, then your oppressor knows that they have you. They know they have you. When your oppressor's money means more to you than being seen as a man by your own people, Houston, we have a problem. Are all Zionist Jews evil? I don't know. Because I don't know all Zionist Jews. Let's go back through the steps of who the Zionist Jews are. So the Zionist Jews are Europeans from the countries of Poland, Russia, and Germany. And it's a small segment of the European Jewry who were Zionists in the turn of the century, right? The 20th century. So early 1900s. And they were under persecution, right? And because they believed that they were the original people and of the original bloodline of the Sumerian Hebrew Israelites and of that tribe. Yes, this ethnicity of people have a lot of names, and it becomes very convoluted after time. So you would have to be familiar with the histories of the Sumerians, of the Hebrews, and of the Israelites, because there are sub-ethnicities here. So of the Israelites, or what makes up the subgroup Yisraelim, it is 12 tribes. And one of those tribes is named Judah or Yehuda. Hence the name Jew. That is not Hebrew, right? That is not Ibrit. So that's not correct in Hebrew, but for a modern or English mistransliteration, we get Jew. And then also, they are originally of Khazarian and Ashkenazi blood, and they too had a subclan called Jewry. So it just fit together like a glove. You will find a lot of Hebrew Israelites are very upset with this particular ethnic group because they feel that they stole their birthright and they stole their identity. But history tells us something different. From European accounts, from other Hebraic accounts, from Moorish accounts, it is said that Moses or Moshe didn't like the way that the Europeans were living in the Caucasus Mountains, and he gave them the Hebraic way of life. And so some European Jews, this is all they've ever known. And they know themselves to be European Jews. And then when you bring in the persecution that happened in Germany during World War II in the 1940s, this solidifies in their minds that they are of the DNA stock. DNA. We're not talking about philosophical. We're not talking about religious. They are of the DNA stock of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the Sumerians. And then when Western European world backs them up because they need the Jews to stand in our place for several reasons. It is to hold the original melanated Hebrews, Sumerians, who are in America, who were brought in the transatlantic slave trade. It is to keep us from knowing who we are, to keep their foot on our neck, and to keep us deaf, dumb, and blind in a state of triple darkness. Because if we knew, or if more of us knew or accepted this is who we actually are, we wouldn't tolerate the treatment that has transpired. So my original question was, are all Zionists, and how did Zionists come about? Okay, so now they take on this nationality of another people. In the beginning, they just took on the customs and traditions taught to them by the ancient Israelites, the ancient Black Israelites, melanated Israelites, and from there they moved forward. And then the Israelites themselves go through civil war. Then they go through being totally dispersed throughout the world, especially through Portugal, Spain, France, Scotland. Is mainly what we call the Iberian Peninsula. It is a mistransliteration of the name Hebrew, Iberian Peninsula. It shows that we was there and we were not Moors. That is another video that I'll do another time as to who are the Moors, but we were lumped in with the Moors because we are both melanated people from Northeast Africa. So now we go back into sub-Saharan Africa. We are displaced. We have no homeland again. And subsequently, we are sold into the transatlantic slave trade. We are just trying to eat, right? We are in no position to fight for a birthright or a homeland that we hadn't seen at that time 500 years. Then coming up to the 1940s, we have not seen our homeland in 1,600 years. We haven't been in Israel, in the land known as Yisrael in 1600 years. So when Nick Cannon says they're not the original Jews, he's correct. But he should have given context to what he was saying. That not all European Jews are evil people or have some type of nefarious plans for melanated people who are, or the original Jews who are now called African American. The Zionists, due to their persecution, because the other Russians didn't like the Khazarians, right? The other Germans didn't like the Ashkenazis, right? You got several clans of people even there. So when they came under persecution, or right before, I should back up, right before they came under persecution, they began to look for a homeland, because this is also the problem that we true Sumerian Hebrew Israelites are facing today, is that we are homeless and we don't understand that. We think America is our home. It's not our home. The United States of America is not our home. And I do understand that there were melanated people here before the transatlantic slave trade. I am not naive to that. However, the numbers of the melanated people, you had two groups that came to America. You had those from Egypt and Morocco who came to America and who settled mostly on the western half of what we now call the United States. They were melanated. And then you did have, and that was about 25,000 years ago. About 16,000 years ago, you get another wave of people who come from Asia, who do cross over the Bering Strait and come into the eastern half of what we now call the United States. These people are lumped in together, and erroneously, both groups are called the Native American, as if they're one homogeneous people, and they're not. Now, putting that to the side, there still was the transatlantic slave trade that begins way earlier than 1619 in the United States. So when we say that we are the original Sumerian Hebrew Yisraelim of the tribe of Yehuda, it's true. Is our bloodline pure? Of course not. Of course not. But are we descendants of those people? Yes. And so, however, with all of this migration that we go through, our history is lost, even somewhat to ourselves. And that's nothing new on the planet. So the Zionists, believing that they are genetically the descendants of the Sumerians, of Abraham, of Isaac, of Jacob, of these Hebrew Israelites, of this tribe of Yehuda, they're homeless in the world. The Germans don't want them in Germany. The Polish don't want them in Poland. The Russians don't want them in Russia. So they seek out Zion, this biblical Zion, right? Where they now can have a homeland, where they won't be homeless anymore. Because every nationality, every ethnicity must have its own land, language, culture, mores, folklore, rites of passage, a healthcare system, an economy, an education system, a defense system. And if you don't have that, you are not a nation, you are not sovereign, and you are homeless. And this is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. We're homeless. Who shows up for us when we're being slaughtered in the streets by the police? No black nation does. Only one ever showed up, and it has its own problems now, and that was Haiti. Haiti came to the United States and fought for us, right? But it can't now, and that's okay. So the Zionists set out to have this homeland. beginning around 1920. And the lead Zionist at the time, he was negotiating with England and with France, with the old world superpowers, trying to secure a homeland for European Jewry. They even looked at Kenya. They looked at other places, sub-Saharan Africa, and it didn't work out. And then World War II bust out, and European Jews were slaughtered, and that gave them more opportunity to gain alliances with the old world powers again, and to secure a homeland in what they said was their ancestral land. You can't be mad at them for that. No one should be homeless on the planet, not on the microcosmic level, not individually, and you damn sure can't be homeless on a macrocosmic level as far as a nation. It doesn't work like that. You can't be homeless. And these are the things that Nick Cannon needed to explain if he studied more before he just opened his mouth and just went full throttle into something that he didn't understand well himself. Talk to them, because you have a section of European Jews in Israel, in Jerusalem today, who don't agree with the Zionists because they're more religious. And according to the biblical text, they feel that they are not to occupy land because the tribe of Levi was not given land, and they are like the priests to the world, right? So all the other tribes were to give to the tribe of Levi. But you would have to understand the biblical text. Maybe you would have to read Hebrew. Maybe you would have to be a history major like myself, right? To understand these things and then be able to explain them in a cohesive way that's not offensive, but it's educational, and then